Hi, so I thought I'd make another tutorial, and this tutorial is going to be about how to make this string covered bottle, or rope covered bottle. I thought it would be a good tutorial to show how to do various things using splines in Houdini. And it's something I have had to do recently professionally, so I thought it covered a lot of good techniques. So let's get into it. Okay, so first I'm going to make a geometry group. I'm going to go in, set the viewport to front, zoom out a bit, create a curve, and turn on snap, and make a basic bottle outline. Now I'm going to add a fuse node, just to make sure that those points are fused together. Now I'm going to add a group range. I'm going to call this top group. Now I'm going to add a poly bevel. And I'm going to set this one to use the top group. And you can see it's only beveling the very top. Just going to expand the top group by 1. Now I'm going to add another poly bevel. And this will also be set to use top group, but I'll put a exclamation mark, which means not the top group. And now it's going to bevel those 2 points there, so we can use this to make it have a different radius. Now I'm going to add a null. And call this curve base. We'll use this to refer to the curve later. Now I'm going to add a revolve node. Make this 32. And then we have our bottle. Now, The entire point of this is that you can change it later. Just put a reverse node in here. So that looks more like the final thing. I'm going to go back in the curve. I'm going to get this point. Yeah, at this point, just move it in a little bit and get this point and just delete that one altogether. So now we have a little bit of a gap. So now when I go down to the revolve mode node, you can see there's a bit of a gap. We'll put a polyfill node in here. And set that to quadrilateral again. That gives us a nice end, which is very useful when we put a subdivide node like this to give it a much smoother look. And much cleaner geometry. So that's how we make the basic bottle shape. Okay, so now that we've made the basic curve, we're going to make the mesh, the rope lattice. So we'll type in it, we'll get an object merge node, and we're going to set this to get curve, to get this node here. So curve base. So now we have just the curve again. We can set this to preview mode so that we can see it while we work on the curve. First thing we're going to do is get a blast node and delete the top group. Actually, what I'll do is I'll remake top group again. Hang on. We need to put a sort node in. By vertex order. So that you can see that the points are actually correctly lined up now. Now we can group by range again. other end. We want it to stop right about here. And then we'll blast. We'll call this and now we have a curve that stops just at the neck of the bottle. Now we'll resample this. Turn the points back on. Now we want these to be quite large. Maybe not that large. There you go. Now we want another group range. What we're going to do with this is we're going to select every other point. So that's one of two. And put another null in here. Call this net pace because we're going to refer to that later. Now I'm going to put in a transform node. Rotate about Y 8 degrees. And then I'm going to duplicate the transform node, but make this not odd points. Make it now I'm going to get an object merge. And get this node here. And get these two nodes here that do the transform and do it in reverse. So this one goes -8 and this one goes 8. Then I'm going to add another transform node. And rotate this 15 degrees. So that's 8 and 8, -1, just so they overlap a tiny amount, and join them together. There we go. I had the groups mixed up. So now if we go down here, you have these overlapping. Now if I add a revolve, with 12 divisions on, I'll just hide this so you can see what's going on. We'll put it on columns, which leaves the splines intact. So now you get a mesh with a bunch of overlapping points. And then to give all these corners here a little curve, I'm going to add a poly bevel. But we're going to set it to crease, which adds like 2 extra little points there. And you'll see why we do that later. So now I'm going to add another object merge. And in this one, I'm going to get curve base again, because we're going to make the ropes around the top and bottom. Actually, I'll make this net base instead. Now I'm going to group range. Set this to points. Call it in points. Invert the range and set this to 1 and 1. So you get just the very ends here. And then put a blast node in. Delete and unselected. So now we have 2 points here. Now I'm going to put another revolve node. But instead of quadrilaterals, we'll select rows. Set this to I want to leave it at 12, I guess. So now we have two circles that we can combine. With merge nodes. And put in a curve surface node. Which gives us, you want to resample. This is why we put the bevel in. So that we can smooth everything out. Now with the curved surface node in, you can see we're already started getting a pattern going. Okay, so we've got the start of our lattice here. But if we show the bottle, you'll see that it doesn't fit around the corners here. So what we want to do, put another object merge in. Put a null in. And over here, we want to merge in the bottle. We'll put the ray. This is a ray node, so this is going to do sort of a ray trace type operation. Set it to minimum distance, and that sort of shrink wrapped our final result. And the other thing is, these lines don't look very much like rope, do they? So what we need to do is make a profile. So we'll make a circle. Set this to, say, 16. Use a group range. Set it to points. soft transform. Set that to scale points. Scale it way down. There we go. So 12 and 4 were the values I just used because they divide into each other in threes. And now we've made this sort of funny looking chevron shape. We can resample it. Turn this to subdivision curves and you get this kind of wobbly looking thing. Now if we use this as our cross section and set it to second input cross sections and scale the cross section down a lot. Too small. There you have that. Now we want it to twist. There we go. The trick is to set it per unit distance so that it evenly does it no matter what size the curve is. Maybe scale this cross section up just a tiny bit. Subdivide it to make it kind of smooth. And there you have the netting. If we put a merge node in, we can now merge these two together, the bottle and the net, and hit L and it'll neatly arrange everything. Okay, now we're going to add some little knots for all the intersections. So that it looks tied together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a spiral. So there we have a spiral. I'm going to get a group range. And again, just use this to select the end points. then get a soft transform, use this on the endpoints, and transform the X and Y so it pulls the ends in. Maybe I'll set the spiral to be 2 turns. And then I'll add a transform node. Just use this to sort of center it. Now we're going to need a lot of little points to add these to. I'll put a resample on here. Just to reduce the number of points, because it might get a bit expensive. These are not going to be very big. And put a curve surface. So that's going to be our knots. So we want to put these everywhere these connect. So we're going to get another object merge. And we'll merge in the ray. And now we'll use a node called intersection analysis. Upgrade this a little bit. And that's giving us all these points. We want to fuse them together. Probably by a bit more than the intersection analysis. There's still 2 points there, so we'll just there. Now we've got a bunch of points. We can go copy 2 points. To transform, scale everything down a little bit. Oh, no. Another transform. Okay, so these aren't aligned correctly. What we want to do is add an orient along curve. Leave that at the default. Here had an attribute transfer and an object merge, and merge in the orient along curve. Now it's still not aligned correctly, but what we can do here is go to the transform and rotate it 90 degrees. Now if we merge these all together, we'll see that they're mostly correct. Need to maybe just move things around a little bit. And now to make it complete, I put some color nodes on. So you can see things a bit clearly. And that's how to make a rope bottle with Houdini.